Hello, my name is Kyle Sebastian, and I am the JED Campus Learning Community Coordinator at the JED Foundation. The JED Foundation is a leading nonprofit that exists to protect emotional health and prevent suicide for our nation's teens and young adults. We have partnered with over 275 colleges and universities through our signature program, JED Campus, which is designed to guide schools through a collaborative process of comprehensive systems, program and policy development to build upon existing student mental health, substance use, and suicide prevention efforts. Today, I am joined by Jessica Orenstein and Sarah Gorman from JED's high school signature program, Set to Go. Set to Go helps students prepare emotionally for the transition out of high school to college and into adulthood. And both JED Campus and Set to Go would like to welcome today's webinar presenters. Mimi Fortune, Associate Director of Student Development and Campus Activities at Pace University, and Kenna Chick, Rising Undergraduate Senior at the Georgetown University School of Foreign Service. We are so excited to support your incoming students through today's presentation on the struggles during the college transition and helping new students thrive as they arrive onto your campus for the very first time. Before I pass the presentation to Mimi and Kenna, I'd like to share a couple of housekeeping notes for today's webinar. If you need closed captioning services at any point during the presentation, please use the link that was provided in the GoToWebinar chat box when you were welcomed to the webinar. Similarly, if at any point during the webinar you have a question for Kenna or Mimi, please type it into the question box on your GoToWebinar dashboard, and we will answer it during our Q&A at the end. Jessica and Sarah will also be available to answer your questions about additional resources from Set to Go. For those unable to join this call live, this webinar will be recorded for all current webinar registrants, as well as for future registrants via the JED Foundation GoToWebinar registration link that you used to join us today. And with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to Mimi, who's going to start today's presentation.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is transitioning and getting ready for the end of the school year to wrap up. And I know this is a very important time only because while you're wrapping up the school year with our students, we're also gearing for orientation this summer, where we will be transitioning all of our incoming freshman students. And so I think this presentation is very timely because we all need to know what that process feels like for the student that's coming in and how we all as educators can support our students as they and their families transition into your institution. And so thank you so much, JED Foundation, for providing this platform for us to have this conversation to prepare ourselves and get ready for the students that are coming in. Today, I want to just talk a little bit about myself and what I do. Again, I am one of the Associate Directors for Student Development and Campus Activities at Pace University. I work on our New York City campus. I oversee our orientation program, our new student and family orientation program, and have served as a first-generation student mentor, and this year have served for the entire school year for a lead mentor. And part of my job is to help families and students transition into PACE over the summer. I'll talk a little bit about our orientation program in a little bit, but a major part of my job is creating that experience for our students and their families as they transition and helping our students get acclimated, find a sense of belonging, and get the resources and services that they need to know before they get to PACE so that they are well prepared when they get here in the fall. In addition to preparing and planning for our parents and our students to come through for orientation, I do a lot of mentorship programming at our institution. I am also involved in a lot of our campus activities, programming for our students, and those are just a few of the hats that I wear in addition to serving and lending my professional expertise to JED Foundation and any other program that serves students that are transitioning into college.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenna Chick and I am a rising senior at Georgetown University. I'm definitely very thankful to be a part of this webinar and for JED for giving me this opportunity. a little more about me and my background. I'm currently majoring in culture and politics, and I'm writing an honors thesis about the identity development of people with mental health struggles. Additionally, I am involved with mental health on many different accounts. On campus, I have been the Georgetown University Student Association Vice President, as well as the Chair of the Mental Health Coalition. And I also run a online chat line called Project Lighthouse that really gives peer support to students who are on Georgetown's campus. Off campus, I am also on the Student Advisory Council for the JED Foundation, as well as the Mental Health America Student Advisory Board as well.
Cool. Thanks. So before we get started, both Ken and I will share some information about programs and services that we offer to first-year students as they transition into college. But I wanted to kind of set the framework of what the transitioning process looks like. And I wanted to do that by talking about the Hullsburg transition theory, which is any event or non-event that results in change in relationship, routines, assumptions, and roles. And why that's important is because this is a very pivotal time for our students. They will be experiencing a lot of changes like starting a new academic program, learning how to increase a different load of academic work, learning how to live on their own or leaving their friends and their families, learning how to cope with peer pressure or just meeting new people. These are just some of the changes that they're going through physically, and then also a lot of the emotional changes that come with transitioning over into a new environment or just a new place. And so before we talk about the different programs, I wanted to just kind of talk about what that transition might feel like. And just to kind of use a personal reference, this past 2 weeks, I was on vacation, and I had the wonderful pleasure of helping both my younger siblings transition out from the Navy, who also graduated with her master's, and then my younger brother, who just graduated this past weekend from Georgetown University. And it was interesting preparing for this presentation and watching them go through their transitions. And why that was interesting is when I think about my sister and her transition from the Navy, she lives a transition-ready life. And so she already has the mental capacity of understanding what her transition process is going to look like. She's lived in 5 or 6 different states. She's lived internationally. She's lived on a ship. And so she understands what that process feels like. And so at the bottom here where you see the framework, situation, self-support, and strategies, the 4 coping mechanisms that an individual would need in order for them to learn how to cope with a transition. I felt like my sister was able to kind of go through all of these different steps and handle it very successfully, even to the point where at the part where it says strategy, finding a way to cope, her way of coping is, we're going to do a road trip across the country, and that's going to be my way of kind of dealing with the fact that once I'm through with this road trip, I'm transitioning into another state, and I am going to start a new chapter in my life. Whereas my younger brother, who just graduated from college, watching him go through these 4 different stages, I thought perhaps he understands the situation and he does have a lot of support, but when it comes to self and understanding how he feels, well, he knows how he feels. He's very anxious and has a lot of stress because not that he doesn't know what he wants to do, but he doesn't know what's ahead of him. He's anxious about the future and coming up with a strategy, right? That's around the area that he's kind of stuck. And so I think about that for them, but then also think about that for our students who are coming in. They all have some level of stress. Some of them are stressed in a good way because they're excited. They don't know what's ahead of them, and they're looking to just leap in. And there are others who are stressed because there's some financial stipulations that's a part of the fact that they don't know how much money they'll have to actually pay for their education. There are some first-generation students who have never experienced this before, and so the unknown is truly difficult for them to conceptualize. And so part of what we do as educators is to help our students emotionally feel prepared to get through this process, and then help them kind of give them the tools so that they are able to walk through this process. And Scholl's transition theory has three major phases, and it's moving in, which is all about learning the new ropes and the routines and the assumptions of a transition. Moving through, which is about learning and balancing and setting priorities, taking responsibilities, learning about their new roles. And then the last part is moving out, and it's the separation and completion. And that's where they're disengaged from what they have always done for the past 4 years. They are now moving past some of the relationships and the routines that they have developed. And our role is to kind of guide them through those phases. And so I think my job is very rewarding in that I get to help students and their families come in through the process. I also have a hand in developing their holistic collegiate journey here at PACE. And then also, next week is graduation for us. We get to watch them walk across the stage. And I think it's kind of sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, or that just full completion of a journey. And I think that's what makes my job and probably your job very rewarding as well. So a little bit about what we do here at PACE. Let's see if I can go back here. Thank you. All right, so just want to provide a brief overview of PACE and then some of our programs that we have here. We have two campuses, one in the New York City campus, and then the other campus is in our Westchester area. We have about 1,999 first-year students, we have about 1,999 first-year students, and out of that, we have 1,428 of those students that are on the New York City campus. And so I see pretty much a majority of those students as they come through orientation. 73% of our incoming freshman students live in New York City and on campus. And that's important because for most of our students, we have a lot of students who are coming from out of state. We have a lot of students who are coming from international countries. And so moving into New York City and getting acclimated and learning about the area is very important through their transition. And so we focus a lot on making sure that they understand what it means to now live in New York City and how to be safe and how to navigate their new environment. And so those are some of the things that are very important to us. A little bit about some of the programs that we offer to our students as they transition into PACE. We have a program called PACE Bound, which I'll dive into in just a little bit. We have our new student and family orientation program. We have weeks of welcome, our first year experience University 101 classes that we offer to all first year students, and it's mandatory for them to attend. We have our Challenge to Achievement at PACE, also known as CAP, and that's basically helping students who have a lot of great potential, but haven't been able to be successful academically, but we know that putting them in the right environment, providing tutors, or just that right mentorship, that they can excel academically, socially, and just emotionally as well. We have different mentorship programs. We have our LEAP Mentor program, our First Generation Mentor program, and then we have our PACE Path, which is a very unique program specifically to the university, which I will dive into in just a little bit. So our PACE Bound program is a conversion program for our students. And essentially what happens, this is for accepted students. And so once they have accepted to come to PACE, we bring them on campus, and it's an overnight experience where they get to stay in the residence hall, and they get to meet fellow students. They get to explore our university. They can choose to participate in a one-night experience or the overnight experience. There are different options. This past fall, we had a little over 1,200 students attend. Last year, or the year before last, we took our students to the Museum of Natural Art, where we actually spent the night in the museum. And so part of that experience was, one, helping them see our university, go into the classrooms, then for some of them who are coming from out of state, have a little piece of New York with them. And so that's usually a well-attended event, and a lot of our students truly enjoy having that first touch of our university. And then the new Student and Family Orientation Program, which is a program I'm very proud of because I oversee it, and I love being a part of the students' experience and their families as they're transitioning in. We have 6 first-year sessions and 3 transfer sessions. Our first-year sessions are overnight experiences, so our students, again, come in on campus. They stay overnight in the residence hall. We have, on the first day, several workshops and club fairs and activities that we have planned for them. We take our students to the One World Trade Center, to the very top of the observatory, and just kind of let it sink in that they are going to be a student in New York City campus, and that always does all kinds of celebratory moments for them. And then on the second day, we allow them to meet with their advisors so that they can get their academic schedules before they come back in the fall. And then we do a farewell program, letting them kind of just let it sink in. You are now a student at Pace. We have given you the tools to be successful when you get here in the fall. If you have any questions, here are the people you can reach out to, and then we send them on home and have a great summer until they come back in the fall. For our transfer program, it's a one-day program, and again, it's the same thing. We have workshops available for our transfer students. We do create a club fair experience for them while they are here so they can meet with various club representatives and offices and departments. And then they also get to create their schedules before they leave for the day. We have altogether 1,656 students who participated last year, and then as far as family and guests, we had a little over 1,400 students who attended. We love orientation because it really truly sets the tone for our students and their families, and we do surveys at the end of orientation, and we get a lot of really great feedback about how students are feeling about their transition. And that helps us so that when they all get here in the fall, we know how to support them as they transition through. And so it's really cool to get to hear from them firsthand about what they enjoyed, what are they afraid of, what are some of their concerns, what do they still need to know, and how we can support them as they transition through. Weeks of Welcome is a 6-week, well, a little bit over 6 weeks, but for the most part, it's during the month of September where we host an event literally every single day. So there's a statistic that says the first 6 weeks of a student's collegiate experience is the most pivotal, impactful moment for them. And so what we do is we created a calendar filled with all kinds of opportunities to meet with different offices, services, and programs available to our students. We plan a lot of really cool, fun events because part of what we want to do is help our students find a sense of belonging when they get on campus. And so through all of these activities where they're getting to meet with club representatives, getting to get involved very quickly and dive in and find out what we do on campus, we have our campus activities fair. We have our multicultural kickoff that we do for our students. We have comedy nights. We have events for targeted populations. So for our commuter students, our transfer students, we have events for our veterans during Weeks of Welcome. So the whole idea is to help our students just get a sense of what we have to offer as far as involvement here at PACE, and then helping them get acclimated once they get in. And it's usually a lot of fun, a lot of really cool memories. A lot of our students meet a lot of their best friends during Weeks of Welcome. And so we really enjoy planning these programs for our students. This happens every year. And if you want more questions or have any questions about some of the events that we host or want to know more about the planning process for some of these events, we'd be more than happy to share this with you and give you some guidance on how to plan Weeks of Welcome on your campus. We have our Office of First Year Experience. This office is designated for all first year students. And so if our first year students ever had any questions about transitioning into PACE or about their academics or about how to get involved or just any questions in general, usually our Office of First Year Experience is where they would go to. Through our Office of First Year Experience, we coordinate our University 101 classes, and this is mandatory for all first-year students. They all have to attend it. And through those classes, we do a lot of skill development, professional development, academic engagement with our students. We do outside field work, so we do some community service programs with them too. It all depends on the professor and how they want to teach their class. A lot of it is just helping our students understand what the first year is going to look like and addressing any challenges that they may have at the moment, and then just giving them some tools, leadership resources so that they know how to transition. And if they want to get involved, we provide opportunities for them to do that. And so it's a pretty cool class. One of the things that I do love about PACE is that in the classroom, along with the professors, there are peer mentors. We call them our peer leaders. And so our students not only have a professional staff member in the classroom in their University 101 classes, but they also have a peer who's the same age, who is just in their shoes, who understand what they're feeling, and they usually are able to connect to that student more easily and readily if they aren't able to connect to the staff member. And so we love having the students in the classroom. This provides leadership opportunities for our students, and then it also allows for them to connect with the incoming class. We have Alpha Lambda Delta, which is a National Honor Society for our first year students. And then one of the things that I love about our University 101 class is we don't just allow the first year students to kind of go ahead and create their schedule. We kind of coach them through that process, at least for the first year. And so once they have gone through it the first year, we're always here throughout their entire 4 year, but for the first year, we really do have a hands-on approach into helping them develop their schedule. And then from then on, you know, if they want to come see us, they have that opportunity. If they feel like they understand degree works and can create their own schedule on their own, that's great. But we're definitely hands-on during the first year so that we make sure that they're choosing the right classes and that they understand the process. Our Challenge to Achievement at PACE, one of my favorite programs here, is for students who, again, have a lot of really great potential, but kind of didn't have the right grades to get in, but they definitely have that potential to increase their grades and depending or with the right mentorship and support. And so our CAP program has very small classes for students who are within the program. They work closely with the faculty or staff member. We do workshops, webinars. We have coaching. The tutoring office is open for these students. And again, our goal is to make sure that we can support them emotionally through this process. We can support them professionally and academically, and then also helping them find ways to get involved on campus and get acclimated. And so I think I don't know how many students are actually in this program, but I do know that those who do come through, I engage with them quite often, and they are usually pretty successful after that first year. And a little bit about our mentorship programs. I have served on all three of the mentorship programs that I'll talk about in just a sec. But the Women's Empowerment Network, this is for our first year female students. We felt like a lot of students, particularly our women, will come in sometimes with a lack of confidence, or if they have the confidence, they're looking a little bit to further sharpen some of their skills. And wanting to have some kind of women mentor to kind of help guide them as they transition into college. And so our Women Empowerment Network is a program that we have for the entire school year where we meet with our female students. We have workshops. We do a women's conference at the end of the school year for them. We do professional development for them. We bring in speakers, alumni, to meet with our students, and our students love it. It's an amazing program. We help our students do a lot of self-reflection and thinking about who they are at that moment and where they want to see or where they want to go in the future. And we kind of coach them through what the next 4 years could look like and develop a really close rapport with them over the school year. And so we really enjoy our Women's Network for our female students. Then we have our Leadership Engagement Action Program. We call it LEAP. This year I had 3 LEAP mentors, and essentially it's just having a personal coach. They meet with me at least twice a month. I can take them out to lunch, have coffee, talk about whatever they want to talk about. So sometimes it's actually the whole process of transitioning into college, leaving things from home behind and trying to start a new chapter here. Or sometimes it's about academics and just struggling through certain subject topics. Or sometimes it's just, I want to be active on campus. I want to get involved. How do I do that? Other times it's, Mimi, I want to be prepared for internship opportunities. Who do I go see? And so I'm kind of sort of very hands-on in coaching our LEAP mentors into how to navigate and figure out this whole first year and helping them, with identity issues or concerns that they have for themselves and just being kind of sort of that role model for them as they transition through. So I really enjoy being a LEAP mentor. And the last mentorship program that we have is for our first generation students. I was also a first gen student. I come from a family of 9, and I remember, my first day in college, my mom said, okay, I'll see you in 4 years. And that was all she said to me. She was there to support me throughout, and she's been amazing. But as far as helping me with, the financial support, helping me understand what college is going to be like, conceptualizing all of that, it was difficult. And I kind of sort of had to navigate all of that on my own, even though I had a strong support system back home. And so I felt like it was a duty of mine to make sure that I also stepped up and help students who are also coming from that background, who didn't have parents who graduated or went to school, to kind of help them through the process of going through their collegiate career. And so we have it on the New York City campus and the Pleasantville campus, and our goal is to make sure that we meet with these students monthly and we provide support and guidance and helping them transition and understand even the smallest things about being in college, roommate situations, meal plans, or, sometimes it's as small and minute as like laundry, or where do I go to a bank, or how do I open a bank account? Just some of those things that sometimes, we don't think the students would need help or support around. As a first-gen mentor, our role is to make sure that they get that support and assistance, even for the smallest things, because what may seem small to others is big to them. And so we're there to help them through that process. And the last thing that I have to share with you all today is about our PACE Path. This is a program that is specifically unique to our university. Essentially, what it is once the student goes through PACE Bound, that is the start of their PACE Path. And what we help our students think about is, what do you want the next 4 years to be like? And so we go through some self-reflection with them and help them think about, what kind of programs do you want to get involved in? What kind of leadership opportunities do you want to be a part of? What kind of community service or activism do you want to be a part of when you're here at PACE? And what we do is we help them think about who they are as individuals through managing oneself, and then we talk about what that's like working in a team, and that's developing some of those interpersonal skills. And then we talk about what that looks like outside of a team and working outside in the real world. And so on top here, you see this picture of a student who is a Student Government Association president, and has been a part of several internship opportunities, has started a mentorship program on our campus, pioneered a partnership program between LIFT and PACE, And so a lot of that is part of their journey. They're getting to create what that process is going to look like, and we have a path for them to do that. And so our goal is to make sure that they have an idea of what they want to do, and we help them get to that end goal. And so, I think in essence, when we talk about transition, I think the most important thing is helping students deal with it emotionally, because I think a lot of the stress comes from what am I going to do? How I'm going to do it? Will I accomplish it? And I think those are some of those stresses that sometimes they just don't know how to handle. And our role as educators is to help our students find the resources, the programs, the services, but then also helping them cope mentally with the new environment that they're going to be in, and providing them with the tools to succeed. And so I think this is a rewarding opportunity for all of us to kind of help our students come full circle with their transition.
All right, so now I can talk a little bit more about Georgetown University. So before I start talking about some of the programs that I have listed in the PowerPoint, definitely just hearing from Mimi about all the different programs that PACE has, I'm definitely very impressed. And at Georgetown, we actually have some things that are similar, such as our new student orientations and our Georgetown Weeks of Welcome. In addition to that, we also do have peer advisors, and our club culture also allows for a lot of students to find mentors just by being involved in different clubs that exist on the exist at the campus. But today I wanted to touch upon several programs that I think are especially pertinent in helping students adjust to a Georgetown campus. So for first years, there are several programs that are specific for this year. So there's the Flourishing course, Escape, and pre-orientation programs. And then generally there are also programs that do help all students on this campus, but first years may find it beneficial as well. So these include the Georgetown Scholarship Program, or GSP, Off-Campus Therapy Stipend, and Project Lighthouse. All right, so starting off with the Flourishing course, this is a course developed a couple of years ago in the Sociology and Human Science departments. And the idea is that this is actually a course that students can take for 3 credits that would teach them how to practice well-being in their daily lives. Things that the students really touch upon is things like sleep cycles and well-being and resilience, reading a lot of text about the ideas behind well-being and specifically why it's important. At Georgetown, there's a really huge culture around busyness and around achievement specifically, and so a lot of students come in already very stressed as high-achieving students in high school, but as they arrive at Georgetown, they realize that everyone else there is very high-achieving as well, and sometimes this creates a campus where, because everyone's trying to outdo each other, there's issues around practicing mental wellness. And so this course is really designed to help students balance their achievements at school while at the same time maintaining their mental wellness throughout. I think in our society there is a lot of misconceptions around the trade-offs between practicing wellness and self-care versus achievement, and this course really speaks into helping students move in a direction that they can practice well-being while achieving what they want to achieve. And so in this course, some of the things that are unique to it specifically, besides just learning about it and the specific content, is that there are actually peer advisors as well, specifically for this course. And so the students who are taking this course actually meet up with peer advisors on a weekly basis and have dinner with them, and they talk about different things that are going on in life, and these peer advisors are able to help them navigate Georgetown as a campus and some of these issues that they're dealing with. A lot of students who've taken these courses have found it very helpful. As you can see from a testimony, students said that I can be flawed, I can be stressed, but I am not alone. And this is the idea that taking a Flourishing course really helps the students become more in tune with the different resources that exist on this campus, as well as the different practices that can build resilience in their lives. And just to give you a little more data around this, the professors of this course actually did a study where they looked at students who had taken the Flourishing course and students who had not, all first-year students, and asked them questions around feeling hopelessness and feeling depressed. And as you can see, the students who have taken the course feel less of that compared to the general population. But when asked about feeling flourishing or feeling resilient, a lot of the students who've taken the course actually report higher numbers compared to the control group. The next program that I wanted to touch upon is Escape. So Escape is an overnight experience for first-year students. There are different sessions for Escape. Usually they start in September, and the last one is, I believe, in March. And in this program, students who are in their first year can go off campus for 27 hours at a retreat center that Georgetown University owns, where they can really just sit down and reflect upon their lives. It's a very nice center with a lot of space. There's a lot of hills there, so a lot of students like to go hiking while they're there, but they can also sit outside and read a book or just hang out with each other. And the idea behind Escape is really just escaping the Georgetown bubble, as we like to call it. A lot of students at Georgetown University really just end up staying at Georgetown, dealing with their classes, or the most that they leave Georgetown for is their internship. But this creates a routine that has just a lot of work around it. And so the idea of Escape is really having students leave campus so they can take some time to themselves just to settle down and collect their thoughts and to really reflect on their experience, especially at a Jesuit university that Georgetown University is. One of our Jesuit values is contemplation in action. And so this Escape program really allows for a lot of students to be able to sort of get away from the busyness culture and reflect on where they're going and where they've been. In terms of our pre-orientation programs, so right before orientation, there are some pre-orientation programs that students can apply to. Currently, there are 8 programs, but the number of pre-orientation programs have grown since I've arrived on campus 3 years ago. So these programs actually focus on different topics such as business or leadership or diversity. And there are definitely peer sort of mentors that exist in these programs that help plan these programs as well as help students acclimate to the campus during these programs. And so in these programs, students arrive earlier before the normal orientation times, and they get to spend some time on campus and learn more about the resources as well as develop relationships with each other and learn more about, what it is like to be a Georgetown student in a smaller setting, so that instead of all the busyness of our orientation, sometimes they're able to learn about it in a slower pace. The next program that I want to talk about is the Georgetown Scholarship Program. So GSP, this program, is actually open to students who are in all years, but mainly they are for students who are first generation and or low income. And the idea is that, especially at a university where there are a lot of students who are perhaps from legacy families or a lot of students who are wealthy, GSP really exists to just provide support for students who may not come from a background where their parents can provide some of that support in terms of acclimating onto campus. And so these students are chosen during the admissions process by an external committee, but they're able to be in GSP for their entire time at Georgetown University. And GSP actually serves students in many different ways, 4 different ways actually. So they do have mentorship programs where they connect a GSP student with a mentor. So these would be professional mentors that are currently working perhaps in the field that the student is interested in, just so the student can gain more exposure to these different professional venues, as well as community building. There are a lot of GSP events just within GSP so that students can meet each other and develop a community and make friends with people who come from similar backgrounds. There's financial assistance. So GSP has a necessity grant that allows students who have financial needs to apply and receive a stipend. So some of this money may be for a plane ticket to visit family during the holidays, or buying a new pair of glasses, or even just paying for dinner some nights. A lot of students definitely have a lot of difficulties when they arrive, and GSP really does a good job of ensuring that students are able to have different types of needs met, including financial, emotional, and more. And lastly is the advocacy work. A lot of GSP produces a lot of strong student advocates on campus, and the different people who work at GSP are able to really provide advice and just be there for students who are especially doing a lot of advocacy work and may need additional support sometimes. The next thing I want to talk about is the off-campus therapy stipend. So a lot of universities nowadays do have counseling centers, but specifically with mental health, a lot of universities may not have the ability to help students on a longer term. And so a lot of students end up being referred off campus at Georgetown University. The difficulty with this is that for the DC area, a lot of the prices are very high. So a student may end up paying $150 to $300 per session. And in this case, because students are not able to afford going to therapy on a continuing basis because of this high financial cost, a lot of students tend to not go to therapy once they're referred out, even if they need to go. And so the idea behind the stipend is that the university would actually subsidize up to $500 for students seeking treatment. And so when a student factors in their insurance, perhaps it would give them more treatment, but this is really a way for students to get through the different costs that exist. For example, the copay would maybe be high for students, so they may not be able to do that in the beginning, but having a stipend would really help them move forward with that and begin the therapy that they need. And then the last program that I wanted to talk about is Project Lighthouse. So Project Lighthouse, also known as PL, is a peer support online chat platform that allows students who are feeling any type of distress or loneliness to go onto the website projectlighthousegu.com between the hours of 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. to talk about different things that they're going through. A lot of the chats that Project Lighthouse receives really they have a different range. So some of them may be things like loneliness or academic stress or feeling like they don't belong on this campus. Other things have been mental health, mental illness, crises, and the like. And there are actually peer supporters who are trained to answer these questions and provide different types of support to the students when they chat in. So these peer supporters are trained for 8 to 9 sessions on different skills such as peer support skills like empathy, unconditional positive regard, and more. And they also learn about campus resources so that they can easily make referrals for the student that chats in. And the idea behind Project Lighthouse is really that because students may not feel comfortable talking to a resource center about some of the issues that they're going through, they may feel more comfortable talking to different peers. And one of the things that is unique about Project Lighthouse is that it is actually an anonymous service, so that a lot of students at Georgetown feel very comfortable going onto this platform because they know that the information that they talk about, some of the things that really scare them or some of the things that they're working through will not be disclosed to other peers or other professors or faculty members and administrators, simply because there is no way to really identify the students when they're using this chat platform. But at the same time, they are still able to get their questions answered, and they're able to really understand, some of the resources that exist, or just talk to someone about some of the more difficult issues that they're working through. The idea behind Project Lighthouse is that students really aren't alone when they're here, when they're at Georgetown, even though sometimes it may feel like it. There are services that exist to really help someone navigate the difficulties of college life. All right.
Thank you.
Open up questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Mimi and Kenna, for your wonderful presentations. It's always great to see practical implementations of the things that we want to see on each of our campuses. And so thank you for sharing the things that you have had hand in producing on campus or collaborate extensively with. And now we're just going to launch into a couple of questions. And as a reminder, you're able to go into the GoToWebinar question box to ask a question of either Kenna or Mimi, or even Sarah and Jessica, who are here from our Set to Go high school team, to really talk about any of the resources that we can look into for the college transition. And before I launch into some of the questions that you all have typed in, I wanted to bring up my own, and that is to ask how you two went about establishing some of these initiatives, whether it's to really have that individualized support for first-year students who are first generation, or who are coming from these even, these unique circumstances, and to have different offices on campus supporting them through this program. And so whether that was collaborating with other student affairs individuals, or being a student and advocating for these programs from the student perspective, I would love to hear a little bit of the insight as to how you went about that.
Yeah. I'll speak from PACE's perspective. Our Office of Student Success launched all of the, in fact, our mentorship programs are all housed in their office, and we collaborate with them. Obviously, we all want to lend support to students within those programs, and so they collaborate within our office and other departments across campus to provide these initiatives for students. And so I know that I'm a part of the First Gen, and also our Elite Mentorship Program, and our women's network, empowerment network. And then as far as orientation, everyone is involved. It takes the entire community. And so I think it takes our entire village to come together to provide support for our students and make sure that these initiatives are on our campuses, because our students come with great needs, and we want to make sure that we help match those needs with support.
Yeah, I think from a student standpoint, when I arrived on campus, a lot of these programs definitely were in the works or existed. And so from a student standpoint, what really can be done is, if there is a new idea that people, that perhaps myself or other people really want to go to, it's first of all starting to talk to different administrators who are working in this area. So I've worked a lot, for example, with the Department of Student Affairs, simply to get some of these programs started or to improve them. Other times it's really just meeting with different people on different levels, writing proposals specifically to address some of these issues, doing research and finding need, and also just after receiving buy-in from different administrators, also receiving support from different students who are interested in seeing something like that happen. Just because, for example, I actually did a lot of work in terms of setting up the mental health stipend, and so throughout that process, a lot of what I've done was firstly writing the proposal, and then meeting with the different administrators and first proposing it as an idea, really answering a lot of the different questions or concerns that they have, redrafting the proposal, and then finally, once I think the proposal is in a point where it can be approved, meeting with different students. So, for example, I worked a lot even throughout with the other members of our student body, student association, just because those were students who were connected to a lot of different administrators, such as the president of our university or the board of directors, in order to get some of these meetings where I can talk to them in person about some of these issues. But other ways to get involved with other students is to really create petitions and the like, or really be very vocal, write op-eds in the school newspaper in order to get some of that going, just because for us, advocacy can be done in many different ways. It can be meetings with, administrators who can make the changes, or it can be, getting the student voices heard through various mediums.
Yeah. I agree, Kevin.
Awesome, thank you. And to go a little bit off of the questions regarding the off-campus stipend, you know, you're coming from the student perspective, but were you able to understand the process where the funding is actually coming from in terms of which department or offices at the university, and is the funding permanent?
So with the stipend, initially a lot of the way that Georgetown runs is through donors. So after talking to a lot of different administrators in the Department of Student Affairs, I've also met a lot with the Office of Advancement, who has a lot of involvement in, you know, fundraising and talking to different donors. So in the last 2 years, we were able to get $10,000 each year, so it added to $20,000. But I'm actually in the process of fundraising in order to create an endowment. And in order to create an endowment, one would need to fundraise $100,000. So currently, I am working on that. But once we create the endowment, then it would be a permanent fund. If not, then there may need to be additional advocacy every year just to ensure that this is an amount that remains for these students.
Great, and Mimi, we have a question regarding financial aid for your program, and we have someone asking whether the University 101 classes are covered by financial aid.
No, they're not. They're not covered by financial aid. This is a part of our academic courses for our students. Well, as far as covered by financial aid, it's covered through the student's tuition. But financial aid itself, providing funding for it, no, it's not covered at all. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Kenna, going back to you, could you talk a little bit about how you have involvement from the peer supporters in the online chat? Do they get paid, work study, non-work study? Do they get course credit? What does that look like for the students?
Yeah, so Project Lighthouse is actually a student organization, so think of it more as a student club on campus. So a lot of people join on a more voluntary basis, simply just to go through the training and learn more about peer support skills. You know, the way that we think about it is that peer support skills are so important in so many different ways, you know, and it can be applied throughout life, you know, whether it's a conversation with a friend or a professor or a family member. Knowing peer support skills is important in just navigating these situations. And, you know, in our American education, we don't really teach people how to talk to others or how to, you know, be more kind and empathetic. And so what really grabs at a lot of people is, you know, being able to learn about, oh, you know, if someone brings up a difficult topic or something that they're going through, how can I respond in a way that's helpful to them? And so the way that our program works is that we do have an application, so students apply to be in this program, and then after the application process, we train them for 8 to 9 weeks on these different skills. Each week has a different topic and a different skill. So for example, some of the topics might be, in 1 week we would talk about, you know, academic stress, and we would invite the Academic Resource Center at our school to talk to these students and present some of the resources that they can give. And then another week we might talk to our counseling center, and our theme would be mental health and mental illness, and they would come in and talk about, you know, this is what depression is, this is what schizophrenia is, and if someone brings this up, these are the resources that exist if they would like to know about it. And so the idea really behind peer support is that a lot of students really just like to talk to other students about these issues, and so we want to ensure that students are equipped with information and can handle these conversations when they happen, just because, you know, a lot of students, when they do finally bring up something that's very personal or very painful, you know, the most difficult part may also be the response that they receive. If someone invalidates their situation, or if someone isn't able to understand them or provide them with the right resources, that might really deter them from sharing this information in the future when they really need, you know, help or treatment or different solutions for the issue that they're going through.
Great, thank you for answering that. In terms of that same question about the training for the peer support students, are you following a particular model? Are you including training for students with diverse backgrounds? How are you working with the counseling center and all of that, or other resources?
Yeah, so the creation of our curriculum is actually through working with people in the Department of Student Affairs, our health education services, and our counseling and psychiatric services. So a lot of the directors of these different departments were able to look at and approve the curriculum that we use to teach students. In addition to that, the way we account for our diversity is that we do talk in some of our training specifically around identity development and how different identities impact how people navigate mental health or navigate college life. And so we want to ensure that even though someone may not have the identity of the person that is chatting in, they can still understand the nuances of that situation.
Great. And I have one more question about the mental health stipend for off-campus services. And is that $500 limit just for one semester, or is that a one-time grant dispersed to the student?
So currently, because the stipend had only really started last year in terms of pending or being in use for students, there's actually a lot of planning that is up in the air. So in the past, it was $500 as a limit for each student because with that limited amount, we wanted to make sure that we helped as many students as we could. But in the future, depending on if we're able to get more money and fundraising, may be changing and shifting.
Awesome. Well, if we have no more questions, we will take this conversation offline to email and other follow-up. So as a reminder, this webinar will in fact be recorded, and you can share it using the registration link that you were provided when you yourself registered for today's webinar. Additionally, we will be available by email, and I'll actually add mine to the list. If you have any questions for the presenters, you can email Kyle@jedfoundation.org. That's Kyle. And yeah, speaking on behalf of Jed Campus, we're really thankful to all of our presenters today for sharing these really practical and theoretical approaches to supporting students in their transition to college. And for us at Jed Campus, that's a really important avenue for protecting the emotional health of our students on each of our universities and colleges, and being prepared for that emotional change is really important for their academic career wherever they happen to go. And so with that, I thank you all for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.